Hello and welcome back to another episode of Programming Languages Quick Introduction. So today we're going to be looking at VB, or Visual Basic. It's yet another member of the .NET framework which is becoming ever more popular, and once more you'll need Microsoft Visual Studio to work on the project itself. Without any further ado, let's jump straight into it. We're going to create a new project. So we want to hit More Project Templates. We're going to go to Visual Basic and Windows Universal. Want to create a blank Universal Windows app, and I'm going to call this episode 3. Obviously you can call it whatever you want. You can hit OK and wait for this to load. Now we're going to get a little box here which asks for the target version and minimum version. This you'll get if you're using Visual Studio 2015 or above, otherwise you won't have the option of creating Universal Windows apps. Please use an up-to-date version of Visual Studio, whichever version is the current. We have here the target version. This is usually your build, so here we have Anniversary Edition. We'll leave that as it is, and in fact we don't have any options in the version of Visual Studio I'm using because I'm using the release candidate. We're going to select the minimum version and we want to go down to the lowest we can. Because the app we're creating doesn't use any specific operating system features, we can be safe with using the lowest possible. This allows more users to access the application. As you can see, the version I have here is 10240. We're going to hit OK and Visual Studio will start to create the project for us. We're back. So now we'll have a page loaded of code. The page loaded will be called app.xaml.vb. App meaning this is the page that runs the application itself. This isn't any page within the application, but the one that actually runs it. XAML is Microsoft's own markup language for the interface of the application itself. It stands for Extensible Application Markup Language, and VB is the default ending for a Visual Basic program. Now before we crack on, we're going to actually go into our web browser, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, whatever you use. We're going to Google GitHub. Okay. Now we're going to go into GitHub. We're going to look at one of my repositories because, well, who wouldn't want to? Okay, now you can access this by searching James Phillips UK, hit enter. It'll say they couldn't find any repositories matching it. That's because you want to find the user, and this is me. In here you can find Quick Introduction to Programming Languages. This is the repository of code from the series. So if you want to look back over the code we've created, there is a default working version of it stored here. In the episode 3 folder we have multiple files. We have mainpage.original.xaml, mainpage.xaml, and mainpage.xaml.vb. Let's talk through these. Mainpage.original.xaml we're going to be using in a few minutes. Mainpage.xaml is the main page markup, so the design of the main page of the application. Mainpage.xaml.vb is the Visual Basic code which runs that page. We're now going to go into mainpage.original.xaml. This is the original code I created to run the application off. What we're going to do here is we're going to copy from grid all the way down to /grid here, the bottom /grid. This is the markup. If you want an introduction to markup, I can do that at another point. Drop a comment down in the comment section below on YouTube, or if you're on my blog, go over to YouTube and do that. We're going to copy this over, and we're going to go into our mainpage.xaml in our Solution Explorer at the right hand side. If we scroll down in this bottom box while the design is loading, we'll see a grid and /grid here. I want to get rid of these and paste in the new version. I'm going to switch up the view now so that my code is on top so I can go through it. So in the code here we have a list of markup objects written in XAML, and I shall go through them for you now. A stat panel contains all of the items we have within our application view, and this text box is the text box that the output for the application will be in. Then we have a grid containing all buttons which are all of a uniform and, more importantly, a relative size to the page itself. So I think it's about time we talk through the brief for the program. The brief for this week is quite simple. You've been tasked by a local company to create a simple calculator for children to use. The application should be very easy to use and should have large buttons. The application should also be usable on phone, tablet and computer. Without further ado, let's get into the code we'll need for this application. We're going to hit the main page.xaml button here, and you'll find the code behind, or the code that runs this page. When we double click on that, it will open for us. So we have some comments here. Let's talk through what we've got. So a single apostrophe before a line represents a single line comment. And this is an interesting feature in .NET languages that's very useful when you're referring between either different programs or different portable class libraries especially. And they are XML comments, comments that are built up like XML. Visual Studio uses the summary ones so it can tell what's in each page. So they begin with a triple apostrophe. As you can see here, we have summary, then the summary, and then a closing summary tag. This is written in XML. Here we have a public not inheritable class, and you'll get this in C# as a public static class. And it's called main page. It inherits from the page class. It's a page called main page. Let's give this summary something to read. We'll call it the main page. Oh, main page for calculator. Now we can see that the markup here for our application is already built, because I'm a nice person like that. And we have here a page, and on it we have a text box, numbers, symbols, and an equal sign. Here are your numbers, here are your operators, and your equal sign to work out the sum. This calculator is only going to be doing simple sums, so addition and subtraction are all that's needed. As an added task, something you could figure out for yourself is how to do multiplication and division. There are actually 3 blank spaces in the grid, here, here, and here, where you could add extra buttons for doing other functions, such as handling decimal numbers with a decimal point, multiplication, subtraction, square roots, whatever you want to do. So we're going to begin by creating functions to run each button. When you press each button, it needs to do something, because it needs to record the value of the button in the code. So here I'm just going to double click the 0 button. As you can see, it creates a private procedure, or sub in Visual Basic, called button0_click. It handles the click event of the button called button0. This name it gets from the XAML itself. It has here a red line. Don't worry about that at the moment. So we're going to send the value that this gives, because it gives the value of 0. We're going to send it somewhere. It needs to hold the variables that we're going to be using in our sub. So we're going to create some page level variables. The variables we're going to be creating are quite simply a first number and a second number and the operator we're using. To declare variables in Visual Basic, because it's a basic-like language, we use the word dim, which is short for dimension. So we dim first num, our first number, as, because it is something, and we're going to call it a double. This will help you later when you decide you want to move on to, say, decimal numbers, in that double can handle these values. You could also dim it as a decimal. Now we're going to do the same with second num. There is an easy way of doing this, however. We could also say dim second number as double, just like we've done here, or we can compound our variable definitions and that with a comma, and there you go. It's as simple as that. Now I'm going to sort out our operators. So we need something to tell us whether an operator has been pressed. Yes or no, true or false, it's a Boolean value. So again, dim, and I'm going to say plus operator and minus operator. And again, you need to give it a type as Boolean. And it's as simple as that. IntelliSense does make things easier for us as we go along. So, button 0 dot click. I'm going to write some code out for you now. If I can find it in my notes, and then we're going to explain it. If you want to code along with me, feel free. So we're going to say if I really need notes in a larger typeface. Yeah. If plus operator, I've spelled operator wrong there, that's going to bug me. Come on. Oh, that won't do it for me. I've got to change it here. I will just say for you now, IntelliSense does work better in C#. If plus operator or minus operator then do this, and it will insert an end-if as well, a closing to the if statement. VB uses if and end-if, where other languages may use, say, braces. Then we're going to say, if that's happened, second num is 0, else, just like we have done before, first num is 0. As simple as this. VB doesn't have default line endings, lines break on the line break character. Now, once we've done this, we also want to set the value of the text box, the output text box, to 0, which is output text box dot text. Because output text box is an object, it has a text property equals 0. It's as simple as that. Let's run through what we have. Plus operator or minus operator. Well, plus operator and minus operator are Boolean values. If they are there, if they are true, then it does this. It puts the value we've used, 0, into second num. This means we can do sums with two numbers. We have first num, which stores the number before the operator, and second num, which stores the number after the operator. So if they are true, then we've reached the second number. We put it in second num. If they're not, then it's still the first number. We put it in first num. Okay? Now, we're going to head back to our main page.xaml, and we're going to go for our number 1 button. And as you can see, it's automatically created a brand new function for me to handle this button. I'm now going to paste the content from here into here and just change the zeros for ones. And we can do the same for the whole thing. I'll let you do that on your own, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, hopefully by this point you should have all your numeric buttons done. You might well have little red underlines under the names of your buttons. Don't worry about these. Once you build your project, they won't appear anymore. It's simply a bug in Visual Studio at the moment. So now we have all the numbers sorted, we're going to go back and we're going to work on the operators. I want you to double click on one of the operators of your choice. As you can see, I've double clicked on button plus and it's created another function for me, or another procedure I should say, for button plus underscore click, the click event of button plus. So what I want to happen with button plus is I'm going to first of all make sure that the first number is there. So we've told the user there's buttons here, use the buttons. They might have decided instead to type something in the text box, so I'm going to say first num equals output text box dot text. The first num variable is now assigned the output text box is current text. Next, I'm going to set the plus operator to true, while simultaneously setting the minus operator to false, as we want to ensure that the plus operator is checked, but we want to ensure the minus operator hasn't accidentally been checked. So we're going to do plus operator equals true. As simple as that. And so inversely, minus operator equals false. Now we're going to do the same thing but inverse for the minus operator. So now we've gotten that all done. We've got our first number set, our second number set, our plus operator and our minus operator all set. The one thing we haven't done is any maths, which in a calculator is quite needed. So we're now going to create our event handler, our sub-procedure for the equals button. This is where we're going to be doing all of our maths. And believe it or not, there's not that much to do. So, just to make sure that the user hasn't again typed something in the box rather than using the big obvious buttons in front of them, we're going to say second num equals output text box again dot text, the text property of the output text box object. Now we're going to begin to tell which operator the user's used. So if plus operator, again we're checking if it's true. So if plus operator has been pressed, if the user's used plus, then we want them to add the two numbers, which again is quite simple. We're going to put it into the output text box. So we want to say output text box dot text equals, and now we're going to do a little bit of maths. We use the brackets to hold our maths in place. We're going to say first num plus second num, and it's just that simple. Now we're going to check if the user has used the minus instead of the plus. So we're going to do an else, but this one's a bit different because it's not actually a normal else, it's an else if. We're going to check else if the user's used the minus operator, because they can only have done one. Then we're going to do the inverse. We're going to do first num minus second num. Now we're going to check the final case. There's three things that can happen. They could have pressed plus then equals, minus then equals, or just equals without using one of the operators. So we're going to do else. This covers all cases, all bases, else, output text box .text equals, we're going to send in a little string to handle things, says please enter a sum. And that's our application built. Without any further ado, let's run it. We're going to go into debug. Whatever your architecture is, I'm doing an x86. I could also do an x64, but x86 is standard. If you're running a mobile machine, you may need to use ARM. And we're going to run it on the local machine. Hit the play button and let's watch it build. Okay, so here's our application. It can expand to fit many screens. When you hover over a button, it lights up so you can see which button you're about to click on. You can drag it down. You can even drag it down to an almost phone-like size if you're more nimble than I am. No? Okay. So, let's try a sum. 1 plus 3. 4. It's correct. Okay, let's see how it handles some more complex equations now. So let's say we had 4.7 someone had typed in. We want to add that to, I don't know, 72. If we now hit equals, it comes up with 76.7, which is indeed correct. So thank you for watching. I hope you look forward to next week, where we're going to be discussing PHP. If you want to catch up on last week's episode, which was written in C#, you can find a link coming up now. Also, if you want to view the source code for any of the episodes in this series, down in the description. Thanks for watching.